Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Dad Bod Pod, a place for men to learn, grow, and live the healthiest life possible. I'm your host, Jason Priest, and we've got an exciting episode for you guys today. But before we dive in, if you are a first-time listener, I highly encourage you to go back and check out some of the prior episodes, man. We're over 120 deep now. A lot of content there to inspire, motivate, and hopefully help you become the healthiest version of yourself. And if you're a longtime listener and you have not taken 10 seconds out of your day to drop us a review, please just do me that one favor. We do not run ads. We respect your time. We will never run ads on this show. And that's what helps the show grow and gets the show into the ears of more men so they can potentially change their life and become the healthiest version of themselves. So today I have a fantastic interview. I've been excited for this one ever since it was scheduled. And so with me today, I have Mr. John Malanca. And John has been the go-to expert and trusted professional in education and information in the medical cannabis and the health and wellness sector since 2011. He has extensive knowledge of cannabis, the endocannabinoid system, patient needs, and disease care, along with a genuine concern for his audience. John is passionate about helping patients, doctors, and families navigate an ever-changing industry. And John, welcome to the show, man. Like I said, I've been excited for this interview for a while. The medical benefits of cannabis are something that I'm very, very, very much entrenched in and a passionate fan of, and I love to see what it can do for people. So what better guest than you to have on the show? So welcome aboard, man.
Thank you so much. And being a guest, because like you, I have a podcast, and being on this side, I'm like, he does a pretty damn good job. So,
hey, well, you heard my intro. We're over 120 shows deep. So you go listen to episode 1 through 5, and it doesn't sound like that at all.
It's funny. We get better as we go. And I look back, people are like, oh, I don't listen to those. Listen to these. So
yeah, no doubt.
Thank you for having me on. And I love your story too. Health is always, I'm 53 years old. I still feel great. I can still see my toes is what I say. And everything else when I look down, but health, before we got on camera here, when I was in high school, I've always been an athlete, but I remember my first job was Baskin Robbins. And so, in those cold winter nights here in the San Francisco Bay Area, my buddy and I, my best friend and I worked at Baskin Robbins. Okay, imagine on a Tuesday, Wednesday night when no one comes in, we're just eating and eating and eating. And like you, in a blink of an eye, you're 40 pounds overweight. And I remember my aunt and uncle are chiropractors, and I used to want to be a chiropractor. And I remember I would live, I'm here in the Bay Area, and they live down south, and I would fly down, 15, 16-year-old and spend the summer with them working. And I got off the plane, and my aunt said, "You look like crap." And I'm like, that wasn't what I was expecting. Do you want to be like that?
Thing to hear.
No. And so
Especially
she put
family.
me on, a family always, most of the time tells you the truth.
They're brutally honest, right? Yeah.
But got me on a health routine. I remember coming back, and, back to high school, and people were like, what'd you do this summer? And I'm like, I changed my whole, and you know what? I'm 53 and I've kept that mentality my whole life. I mean, there's times I fluctuated,
Sure.
Happily married, you look at some pictures, like on Christmas, you standing by a Christmas tree, and you're like, oh my gosh,
Yep.
Why didn't she tell me? But thanks for being on. I'm a health and patient advocate, and I've probably like you, even in our everyday world, people come up to you, hey Jason, how'd you do this, or what are your thoughts on that? And so
Sure.
I just think it's pay it forward, and how I live my life is pay it forward, but also like I always use this is a pond and throwing the pebble in the pond and the ripple effect of information and stuff that I learn every day. But anyway, that's a little about me of health and wellness. And questions.
Yeah.
What questions? I'm always on that
doubt,
side.
Man.
So sorry.
The reality is the ripple effect. I love the analogy there, because the bottom line is, I go into my day each and every day with the expectation of making an impact on at least one person. I don't care if it's a social media post, a client of ours, someone in our free group, doesn't matter where it is. If I can make the impact on one person, then I have done my job for the day and paid it forward. Do I want to impact more on a day-to-day basis? Absolutely. And that's why our company does what we do. And that's why we've recently expanded our team. There's actually 3 of us now. And we're the triple threat. And so I'm excited about our growth and the impact that we're going to make moving forward as an expanding team. But So to dive in, as I mentioned before the show, we only have one scripted question on this.
Go for it.
And so here it is. And this is really just to get your take on the Dad Bod. Obviously, our company's, Dad Bod Health. The reality is the Dad Bod is it at one point was kind of a funny term, and now it's become more of an issue, right? It's most guys with a Dad Bod realize there's more of an issue than this cute, cuddly figure that they have, right? And so, what is your take on where we're at as a nation in terms of not just the Dad Bod, but the obesity epidemic? Obviously, that was the dark cloud and still is over our country prior to the pandemic. And so, I talk about this often, but the projection, or at least a few years ago, the projection was by 2030, we will have a 50% obesity rate. We're at 2021 and we're already at 42%, I believe, last time I checked. I think we're getting to 50% before 2030, and this trend doesn't seem like it's going away anytime soon. So what is your take on that? And give me your thoughts on that.
It's scary. Well, first off, the body is a fine-tuned machine, and it's scary on what this pandemic has done for a lot, because I've seen a lot of my buddies are not leaving their house.
Yeah.
It's we're all home office now, but they're not leaving their home. Like I get out and I'll go for a run or a ride every single day, rain or shine, I'll get out there. And that's my therapy, and that's my drug of choice.
I love that mentality though, man. It's a non-negotiable priority for you.
It really is. And, I have buddies that have always been in health, but with this pandemic, they're at the computer from the morning right when they wake up to the evening, and they put on 40 something pounds. Yeah. And they're like, my breathing's off, my sleep is off, I don't want to say I'm depressed, but I'm depressed, and so I just think it's a scary thing to see where our country is going as a whole. I grew up in Asia. My dad was in banking, and so I've seen different cultures on how they've changed.
Sure.
I mean, just to go over there and see that. As an adult, I lived in Belgium, and I remember my old girlfriend would come over here, and we'd go to the yogurt, where you can do the soft serve yogurt. And, she's looking around and she's like, gosh, everyone's in here is getting the large with extra toppings. She goes, in Belgium, one large will feed a family of four. Right. And your family of four is all getting the large. And so it makes you look back at what we're doing. Getting back on a plane and coming back here to the States, and you see all the Americans, for some reason, the fast food quality of life is, I shouldn't say quality of life, but the fast food lifestyle, everyone's on a quick, and it's too bad, because my dad was diabetic. He was a healthy diabetic, if you can be a healthy diabetic. Sure. He wasn't obese. He was on top of it, but diabetes affects every part of your body, from the kidney to your heart to everything. No doubt. And he passed because of that. And so, and again, healthy diabetic, not overweight. And then you see others that are not healthy diabetics still eating that way. And it's just like, come on, guys, you're 34 years old, you're 40 years old. You're 70 years old, and to see calves the size of our legs, I mean, that's just a sign of your body shutting down. And so I hope that we can get out there and change this before it's too late. It's never too late. You can reverse diabetes. You can reverse addictions to foods and other products, but also you can lose weight, as you and I both know. I'm 185. I've been 245. Sure. And still active. So imagine if I wasn't active and I was 245, and so that's part of the thing that I do, is, I have friends that were 16, 17, 18 years old. When I was in college, I waited tables, and I have buddies that were, working in the kitchen or bus that I'm still friends with today. They're in their 40s, their husbands with their kids. And they said, John, you put me on this workout routine at age 16 that I'm still doing today. And I said, that's exactly what my aunt and uncle did to me. And so, like you, if you can reach one person, it's a success. And so, so I'm not out there preaching every day, but I do get out there. And, my brother lives in Santa Barbara, California, and he's a big golfer, and he got into biking during this COVID. And he said, now I understand what you get, why you do it. And I said, it just takes me away. He goes, I used to dream about getting on the golf course, but now I dream about getting on my bike and going for a run. Off camera, I shared to you, I recently lost my wife a couple of years ago to pancreatic cancer, and she was so in who didn't drink, didn't smoke, worked out, stayed healthy. And so life can change in a bloody instant. So everyone that's listening out there, dads, husbands, wives, you know, don't take the little things, you know, too seriously. It's like, you know, nothing. I've had so much come at me of, you know, losing my wife, that part of my goal for others is, Jason, don't forget to tell you love your wife tonight and your kids.
The little things, man.
The little things. And I've
had things that cost no money and take little
oh
time.
Boy, you know, because we had the perfect life. You know, we have a great company. We have the love. People are like, God, people don't have that relationship you guys had. And, you know, so my therapy was getting on my bike and going for a run. Believe me, there are days I'm on my bike and just tears are streaming down my face. I'm on my run, you know, but to hear my brother say, now I get it. And I said, Rob, I love that you're experiencing what my therapy session has been.
Sure.
And so again, paying it forward, you know, getting my brother, even my mom and my brother's, my sister-in-law, is like, I love it, because Rob is healthy, active, golfing, but he's not getting out there and getting his, you know, full on, but now he's doing that. And so again, paying it forward, and it's never too late, you know, for all of your listeners, it's never too late.
No, I love it. It's never too late to get started with anything. And the reality is we both know that guys have to be ready for, and people in general, but this is a mostly male audience. So these guys got to be ready to make the change. They got to be ready to really to sacrifice. And we talk about this a lot. Like, the reality is life is hard regardless, right?
Yeah.
And we, you know, my two business partners and I, it's like you got to choose your hard, right? The fat life is very hard. We've both lived it. That's a hard life. But you know what? Your life right now and my life right now aren't easy either. They're also very hard. But the reality is I would rather have my life be difficult with longevity and health versus difficult with, you know, no guarantee. No, and obviously nobody's promised tomorrow. And I want to get to that in just a second. But this misery that these guys go through when you talk about these calves the size of our thighs, right? It's one of those things where it's like, you know, that guy is in a lot of pain, both physically and mentally. You cannot look yourself in the mirror and love what you see at that size. And I don't care if anybody out there, I'm this whole body positivity movement that was a thing pre-pandemic. If you notice, that stuff has started to slip away now. People aren't preaching this. Oh, look how big and beautiful she is. That big and beautiful lady that got COVID and died because of all of her comorbidities. That's been an eye opener. And I hope that people notice that. And so I want to touch on, you know, obviously losing your wife is a tragic thing. And nobody looks forward to that. So I want to talk about that because I just mentioned the fact that nobody's promised tomorrow. You said your wife was very healthy, active, ate healthy, no smoking, no drinking, all those stuff. She was living a very healthy lifestyle, and had her life stripped of her from pancreatic cancer. That's something that, again, it's tragic. But the reason I want to go there again is because for the guys out there who are listening right now, the bottom line is that when you hear a story like that, and it's like, okay, like nobody is promised tomorrow. We often take life for granted. And it's very easy when you're in these piss poor routines to keep kicking the can down the road. You kick it a little bit more and you kick it a little bit more. And to your point, it's never too late to start taking action. But the reality is the longer you kick the can down the road, the harder it's going to get and the more irreversible damage that is going to be done. And so what are your thoughts on that? Like what advice would you give to somebody out there after going through what you dealt with your wife? You know, that's a sudden thing where you guys had a great life, great company, everything's going well for you. And then bam, you get hit with this like dark cloud that's now is like this a scar for the rest of your life. So what insight or advice would you give to somebody who's really in this stuck place and is trying to figure out like, I need to take action now or what?
Oh boy, you know, I have chills right now. Hey
man, I wanted to go with the hard-hitting question.
Yeah, you know, everyone's different and everyone's journey is different. And I have now friends that have both men and women that have lost their spouse at an early age, and it just rocks your world. I don't want to say I see the light at the end of the tunnel because it's been 3 years and I cry every day. You know, I'm holding back tears and I miss my wife. I was someone who waited to get married. I had a great life, dated some wonderful women in my life, but I never pull the trigger. And it wasn't that I was afraid, because,
you got to
my
find the right
grandparents,
one, man.
You know what? And that's what it is. And I have
when
two,
you know.
And I don't come from separated family. My parents are together, my grandparents are together, my brothers, and so it wasn't something, because I have friends like, oh, I saw what happened to Uncle Bill. I'll never get married, something like that. So I loved marriage, but finding the right one, I wasn't going to do it just to step into it. And I waited, and I'm so happy I waited. And I share this with everybody, don't settle, because I have a lot of friends that are married, and they said, God, both men and women. And I knew it when I walked down the aisle that I shouldn't be here, but and that's a tough thing. And I haven't experienced that. So, but I've experienced being in relationships where I just know it's not going to work. But everyone's journey is different. Where I went with this is I got out of bed at 7 a.m. I didn't sleep much after she passed. Rolling over and going, shock. Talk about shock every single night. Mm-hmm. It was a nightmare. It's still like that. I roll over and going, where the heck is she? Where you're supposed to be here. I talk to her every day, but when it first happened, I would get out of bed and I would go for a ride, and just to get out. And that was my inner I don't say anger, because it wasn't anger, but that was something.
It's how you're channeling that energy, whatever that energy is. You had a channel for it. Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And so like I said, my drug of choice was to get out and just go. And I'm someone who always has to go. But that was me. Where others turned to painting or picking up an instrument. Sure. I picked up an instrument when my father passed away. Reading, my mind was gone. If you would have said, here, John, here are the winning lottery numbers, just read that paper, I couldn't have done it. I mean, it took me a couple of years to even read my emails. So like I said, everyone's
you just
different.
numb, and I know you dealt with your wife. I lost my mom, like we talked about, at a young age. I was 25 and I was numb, and when you have a deep rooted love for somebody like that, it's just, it's tough. Right.
So I continue on. And so now my journey, not only as a health and patient advocate, I can't tell you how many strangers have come up and to our show, and we'll talk about, how I've helped them go through their grief.
Right.
And grief counseling worked for me. I have others that have waited 5 years before they started. So it's never too late. With that, let me go back to about
everybody grieves in different stages, for sure.
In different stages. And no one's right or wrong. I've met people that got married a month after their spouse passed, and that's not me, but everyone's different. And I'm not saying what my way of grieving is different than what they're doing. Back to the beginning when you were talking about health and wellness and disease in the body, inflammation. You were talking about, inflammation literally leads to disease, dis-ease in the body. I'm 53, and when you were talking about that, I don't have any joint pains, and that I get out of bed and I watch what I put in my body. Believe me, there's times a burger sounds great or a beer sounds great, so I'm not that. What I did do last year, January 2020, a buddy of mine went on a trip, and I said, "Man, you look great," and I've known him since I was 5. He goes, I went vegan. I said, you went vegan? He goes, yeah, organic and vegan. I said, I'm in. He goes, we're on vacation. We were overseas right before this whole pandemic. And I said, I'm in. He's like, we're on vacation. I'm like, let's do it. And I never thought I was going to go vegan. I eat fish, but I don't miss. And when you say, I know you're a burger guy, and I love burgers too, but I can tell you, I dropped weight. My inflammation in my body went down to 0 on the inside. That's when all my joint pain stopped. I've been sleeping better. My anxiety was just declined, and my sweet intake went to 0. And I love chocolate covered pretzels. I could eat a whole bag of chocolate covered pretzels before bed, or peanut butter. And so I know your listeners like vegan, get rid of this California dude.
Yeah, we had a lady on here from Hawaii not long ago. Holland, Hawaii, I think is her name.
Yeah.
She sent me her whole vegan like hardback recipe book and everything. And look, the reality is there are some guys out there tuning in that may be vegan or are already made that shift. I got nothing against it. One of the biggest things, or one of the biggest challenges that I see with people who are vegan. My brother is vegan. And isn't getting enough protein and keeping enough body weight on. There are some overweight vegans out there, as you well know, that are just sugar addicts.
Yeah.
But the trend that I see most of is vegans that are very thin and almost look malnourished. And I think there's a fine line that you have to walk there. So that we can go on a whole tangent there, but go where you.
But there are days, just the last few months, my body, I was like, you know what, I had a piece of chicken. I missed a little piece, so I did it. I missed, making eggs in the morning. So I started saying, so you don't have to go cold turkey and
sure.
do what your body wants. And it's funny, my business colleague, I was talking to him the other day, and I shared this. He goes, a year, you didn't even tell me? He goes, most vegans go out there and pound their chest and say, Jason, take this, So I'm not that guy, but what I was getting at is I have zero inflammation. I jump out of bed.
Yeah. That's
like
huge.
I'm in my 20s, and it's like, I'll be damned. It feels good not having to go, okay, my back and, my ankles haven't reacted yet. But, so next question.
Yeah. So let's shift topics here. This was a great beginning to the show. Obviously, that some emotional talk there. So let's go down the avenue of your expertise, right? I will tell you from my standpoint that I'm in Texas, and you mentioned you're in San Francisco, so completely different views in terms of the way that our states approach things. So I'm in Texas, and obviously we're a majority red state, and cannabis is illegal here, right? It's not something that is accessible, at least at the recreational level. And so the views are quite different. So I think there's a lot of there's probably a lot of listeners out there. They're like, oh, like weed, marijuana, they see a lot of the taboo because that's what's been drilled into our head. There was a point in time where, and I think we can still argue that is like that THC is on the same spectrum in terms of the class of narcotic it is as heroin and cocaine. And that to me is completely ludicrous.
Totally.
I cannot even begin to fathom who decided that. But the reality is I will tell you from my standpoint, cannabis is 1,000 times safer than alcohol, and alcohol is readily available to everybody. And so I want to go down this avenue and let's talk about, how you even got started with this, because I know you have a good story to share there. And then we'll start to unpack this a little bit for the listeners, because I know that there's a lot of people out there listening right now that could highly benefit from some aspect of cannabis, whether it's the THC, whether it's CBD, no matter what. There's a lot of guys out there listening that could probably, cure or fix some of their issues with that. I had a client the other day tell me that he reached out, and I was like, hey man, like we're very big on what we call the 4 core pillars of health. That's sleep, stress management, nutrition, fitness. All right. Those are our pillars. And that's what we help guys do, is optimize all areas of life or all areas of health. With that being said, I ask him, I'm like, okay, so tell me about the 4 pillars. That's the review, right? How are you doing with nutrition? I see that you're consistent with your workouts, but how are nutrition? How's stress management? What strategies are you using? And are you consistent? And then how is your sleep? And his first comment back was, hey man, like my sleep has been fantastic over the last like week or two, because I finally started on some CBD. And I'm like, you know what? Like that one comment just goes to show that it has a lot of power out there that's not being leveraged enough for people who could really benefit from it. So let's go there. How did you get involved in it? And let's start to unpack that.
So how I get, I use cannabis in high school and college, and then I stopped at 21, and it was health. And I was like, yeah, I don't need it. And I was always high on energy, high in life. And people would say, what do you want? And when college, and I'm like, it's like, let me bottle some of that. That's why I always have to get out and run or throw a football or kick a soccer ball.
You need an outlet, right?
Yeah. That has always been my outlet. And people in my life have always laughed. Like, I know John has a ball in his car or something like that. So I still look out of my eyes like I'm 20-year-old kid. And I still,
Sure.
and I think that's probably why I get along with my nephews and stuff like that. But cannabis was in my life from, 21 to 40 something. And my father-in-law was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, which metastasized to his brain. Just to show you the repercussions of smoking, he hadn't smoked cigarettes in over 30 years. Wow. He's a retired dentist, Stanford graduate, stopped smoking, but just show you the repercussions that years later. So what you're talking about, Jason, where we are now, so eating, and our country is becoming an obese nation. Mm-hmm. You can stop now because the repercussions can be heart disease, diabetes, Parkinson's, everything that goes along with that. Sleep is so important. And I think if you have sleep, the rest can be a positive domino effect or a negative domino effect.
Absolutely.
If you don't have sleep.
I love that you went there. Sleep is our number one pillar, because I don't feel like, not just most guys, most people don't have it as a high enough priority.
Yeah. Yep. So, back to story with Corinne's father, my father-in-law. He was diagnosed, he was given, and he went from healthy 77-year-old man then, living life, and then next thing on full-time oxygen, looking like, prisoner of war, not eating, wasting away, wasting stages is what they call it. And so Corinne and I did a lot of studying, research, and we came across a study that showed 40% of cancer patients pass a malnutrition before cancer takes over. The body just shuts down. This happens with cancer patients, happens with AIDS patients. They just stop eating, and your body just, no nutrients,
no body, right? So
I said, I'd like to go to your next oncologist appointment. My father had passed about a year and a half prior, so I was a wreck, like the feeling of losing your mom.
For sure.
And so I went in there, and they hadn't lost any family members yet. Her grandparents passed at 98 and 97, and they've been together since age 16. So, wow. I mean, isn't that how life is supposed to be? You find your partner and you have this wonderful
the happily
life.
Ever after that doesn't really exist anymore, right?
And so we asked his oncologist, how much time do we have? She looked at us in shock. He said, this is my family. He said, probably 2 weeks, which we thought was generous. She said, Mark, we can try morphine. He said, I'm not in any pain. Then that's when I said, I don't mean to offend you. What about cannabis for appetite stimulation? This is 2011 now. We're 2021.
Yeah, still, we're kind of taboo there. Yeah.
Taboo, really taboo then, but the information that's out there, you didn't have a John Malanca, Corinne Milanka United Patient Group then. And so doctor said, go for it. And so I said, Dean Corinne, the caregiver, who I called Mary Poppins, didn't drink, didn't smoke. And she's looking at me like, what do I know? I said, well, I'll help you. So we went down, and make a long story short, we ended up finding him a coconut oil capsule about 3 milligrams. I knew he couldn't smoke it, so we cut it. We knew it was an oil-based that we could cut it into slivers.
Sure.
And the reason I did that, I originally went with a piece of candy bar and it knocked him on his butt so bad that I was thinking, I was more scared and embarrassed because I was the silly boyfriend then, not the husband. Okay. It's like, what have you done? So I was really.
You were overdosing, and I love it.
Nice guy. I'm not going to be invited to Christmas dinner this year.
Hey, at least you probably felt good at that point, right?
He was. So more is not always better, and so you can be really uncomfortable. And so day 2, day 3, he started eating. We said, oh, good. He'll pass peacefully. He'll pass peacefully. His complexion started coming back. Day 5, day 8. Remember, he's on full-time 24/7 oxygen. And we would call every morning, did he make it through the night? And when we woke up, so we went over there one day, and he's shuffling around the house. And I said, what's happening? Don't get too cocky on us. And he said, well, something's working. And I said, fantastic. So now he's eating, he's moving, he's off his oxygen. And this is just not in all cases. I've seen cases, but this is an extreme. And how you were talking about filming, I said, hey, I haven't seen any before pictures of you. And, people always ask, how come you didn't film this? I said, I didn't know the outcome. We didn't know. I wasn't going to sit there with a camera and say, hi, you're dying. And I wish we did, though, because at 6 months, hospice fires him as a patient. Now he's walking and driving a car and swinging a golf club.
What a great feeling to get fired by hospice, right?
Oh, boy. What a great feeling to get fired by hospice. And by then so my background has been in branding, marketing, advertising. I said, God, there has to be a million other families out there like us where cannabis isn't our lifestyle. and we want to work with the families like my father-in-law, that demographic of help. What are some other options out there? And so we started meeting. We built United Pace Group for that as an informational website, and we incorporated full extract cannabis oil, which looks like molasses, and it's a little heavier.
Okay.
People say take a gram a day, which I'm totally against. More is not better. More is not better. I mean, you wouldn't drink a keg of beer; you'd have a mug of beer, and it's the same type of thing. And so, at 9 months, he was never going to get scanned, and the phone rang around 10 o'clock at night, and we think, oh, here's that dreaded call. And it was my mother-in-law. She said, check your email. We jumped out of bed, and it came back, no evidence of recurrent disease from his oncologist at Kaiser. And so talk about the tears of joy. And,
that's so wild.
So he's still alive today. And so I've seen this plant work. And so we built this site. People said you both are good ambassadors for this, because everyone has a stigma of, the stoner down in the corner, stuff like that. I think cannabis is a medicine at all levels. Like you said, it's 1,000 times safer than alcohol and other opioids that are out there. And so it's not for everybody. And so I'm not one to go out there and say, try this and you'll be healed. And it's not the golden pill, the golden ticket. So I want people to realize that. Sure. A time and a place, but also you can do it. And the goal is not to be high. The goal, if you want to go be high, go for it. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. You can relax, watch a game, stuff like that. But I think for the patients that are out there, the education, CBD is wonderful, like your client was speaking about. So there's about 140 different cannabinoids in the cannabis plant.
Sure.
THC is one cannabinoid, benefits of psychoactiveness, but also THC has been proven to kill cancer cells. So if my father-in-law was on a straight CBD regimen, I know for a fact he would not be here today. His regimen was 4 parts THC, 1 part CBD. CBD is also wonderful for sleep, but also pain, but also has been proven to stop the spread of cancer. So a formulation of the two, in our case,
you got one killing and one stopping the spread.
Yeah, and so everyone's different. So what I would use, cannabis is not a one size fits all. A medical professional, in my opinion, should be involved if you have something as serious as cancer or other ailments. But age, weight, current health condition, sensitivity, stage of your ailment, hope it's not cancer, but also drug-to-drug interactions. Are there other drug-to-drug interactions? And so each cannabinoid plays a role. As I was mentioning, THC is a cannabinoid, CBD is a cannabinoid, CBN, which you'll be hearing a lot about, it helps with sleep. So that's what I take at night. It's non-psychoactive. THCA, CBDA are the acid form, not like LSD acid, but in the raw form. Sure. Back in the day, you could juice wheatgrass. People still juice wheatgrass, but you can juice a cannabis plant and drink it like a shot of green juice. It's incredible. Non-psychoactive, great for inflammation, cancer fighter, and that's called THCA, the acid form. Same thing with CBDA. But the moment you dry that and heat it and cook it with coconut oil, or you smoke it, it converts to THC, and that's where you get the psychoactive plant. So the same plant that's high in THC that you cook or eat raw has the benefits of non-psychoactive, but at the same time, if you dried it and cooked with it or smoked it, that's when it converts to, when it's heated, it converts to THC. So anyway, I'm kind of going down the road here.
Yeah, you're good. But I have a question. Go ahead.
For your followers that live in illegal states that want to try this, I think CBD is wonderful. There's some great companies out there. Look for something that's grown here in America. Just due to the fact that the regulations are different than they are overseas. A lot of hemp nowadays, hemp CBDs, which you're seeing at 7-Elevens, your gas stations, your grocery store. Personally, that's not where I would go buy it. I would look for something that's tested, that shows the cannabinoid profile, also pesticides, metals, and other toxins. So hemp, which you see in Texas, I have a lot of friends in Texas, as well as a lot of patients we work with. Hemp is known as also mop weed. So back in the day when there was a toxic spill, not only here in our country, but overseas, they would grow hemp on the soil. It would suck it up. They test the soil. and now no more pesticides. Now they're growing,
Oh,
or
wow.
building churches and schools.
I had no idea. That's cool.
And so that's why be careful, because there is a lot of arsenic in a lot of companies that are out there selling this hemp thing. Just because, I mean, even the nutritional supplement industry. I mean, we all judge a book by its cover. Look how beautiful it is, or look at Jason, look at how strong he is. I want to do what he's doing, type of thing, and stuff like that. So your question, you were going to lead into something else.
Yeah. So I wanted to go back to, you mentioned the guy on the corner, the stoner on the corner. Okay. Yeah. So I think that there's so many people out there that have that vision. Anytime they hear CBD, anytime they hear CBN, anytime they hear THC, that's the vision, because that's what's been ingrained into our brain for so long. Now, the educated guys out there that know more about this, this is a select crowd that I'm talking about, because there are a lot of people, the devil's lettuce, that this taboo that we've got, that this is such a bad thing, right? The Schedule I narcotic. All of these things that kind of have given it this bad name, and everything that you're talking about today is so enlightening for our audience. And I'm even learning some things myself. I'm pretty well versed in this topic, but I love that, some of the points you brought up. So with the stoner on the corner, all right, you say there's kind of a time and a place. You mentioned the scenario of, if you want to, you want to have the psychoactive effects and sit around and watch a game. Cool, right? Like, no big deal. Same thing, drinking a few beers, watching a game. Same kind of level. But here's my question, or the thought that I wanted to unpack a little bit, is the stoner that's on the corner, right? Let's not kid ourselves that guy or that woman also is probably using that thing, and I would say 99% of the time is utilizing that plant for some type of underlying potential issue or condition they have. Not as severe as cancer, but you could be talking about things like anxiety, things like depression, things like social anxiety. There's a lot of mental issues that kind of come into play, where people are self-medicating. They get the stigma of being the stoner on the corner, but at the end of the day, that's helping them live a higher quality of life, because that is it. Maybe it's just masking or putting a temporary Band-Aid, but that's how they're able to cope. But they get this bad social image because, the devil's lettuce thing. So what is your take on that? Because I know that there's more of those kind of people, the recreational users out there, way more than there is of the patients, right? And so I want to address that situation, because I think that they get such a bad name. And at the end of the day, they're self-medicating for a reason. So what is your thought process on that?
Yeah. So again, there's nothing wrong on what you do in your life. I'm not here to say, I'm better, or you're better, or anything else like that. And I'm certain we have some guests. Hey, I've been on the corner before.
Yeah, no doubt. I have. Look, dude, I'll own it. I was the stoner on the corner for a while myself.
Yeah. So the thing that I've learned over the years is cannabis is not a one size fits all, and everyone has their own journey. I'm highly sensitive. When you clean your body out, as you and I have, I'm highly sensitive to salt and butter and energy drinks, if I have an energy drink, or even a glass of wine. I mean, I can sip on a glass of wine all night and it'll last me, throughout the night, where I have other buddies can drink 4 bottles of wine and they can talk to us like this.
Yep.
Type of thing. So everyone's different. The thing with cannabis, which I've experienced, it can bring on anxiety. It can bring on depression.
I agree with that.
And I've had that before, where I've had a rough day, and you just go. And being a business owner like yourself, I will have some cannabis at night, and okay, it puts a Band-Aid on it for the good 3 hours, and I go to sleep. I sleep well. In the morning, I wake up, and it's all of a sudden all the stuff I have to do. And to my anxiety, where it was the night before, was at an 8, and I wake up, I'm at a 10. And so there's times in my life I've stopped it for a year. Okay, let me just, flush out my body and get my mind straight again, where it's like, okay, like when Corinne passed, I didn't touch cannabis for a couple of years because I didn't want my mind to overly think and get into a sad mode. And so, for listeners that are going through that, a lot of time, even with your, I don't know if it's only the male audience, what I've found, being a health advocate, I know you're an RN as well, is I'm a big fan of naturopathic medicine. I'm friends with MDs, and so our naturopath is also an MD as well as a naturopath. And so, but a naturopathic medicine, and for all the guys out there, I think you should go to your wives and say, now I know what's going on, because a lot of women will come to us and say, John, I have issues with depression, anxiety, sleep issues. I want cannabis. And I say, not to not to step over the line here, but may I ask how old you are, and I'm in my 40s or in my 50s. And I said, my advice is go to a naturopath who can take a blood marker to see where you are.
Sure.
And naturopath will give you a blood test from A through double Z, where normally in a doctor's office, they just go from A to Z on a blood test. And they can see where your hormones are off, why your hormones are off, why you have anxiety, why you have sleep issues, is your cortisol level high, is your cholesterol high? And not only for women, but for men too. I did it, and it's like, holy smoke, I can see exactly where I am. And when I was able to balance that off with supplements and nutrition, and you're high in this, you're low in this, you're pre-diabetic, change this, boom, 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 you'd be amazed on what it does, not only for your body, but also your mind. It's
I would imagine, yeah.
And so I'm a big fan of seeing, and nowadays with technology, you could go into a doctor's office and get a marker and just see right away, like, now I know why I'm off with that too. And so so I just think, if you have something as severe as that, schizophrenia, perfect example. Schizophrenia, is success. You can successfully treat schizophrenia with high doses of CBD. I mean, high doses of CBD. And so I have a lot of, for some reason, our demographic, you have a lot of men going through depression right now, anxiety, sleep issues, and schizophrenia. And I think if you nail down the sleep, it will help with the domino effect on the other ones. And if you're able to do that, I know we come from, we're men, so we do a lot of trial and error. Won't do that again. I remember, that type of thing. And so if you're able to ask questions, ask your doctor about it, call me, come to the website, United Patients Group, and so like you, paying it forward and being that light for some people, it feels good.
No, I love it, man. You added a ton of value to the show today. This conversation has been fantastic. I feel like this is a conversation that needs to be had more. And I think the more well-informed and the more educated that people become about this, and actually opening up their eyes and opening up their mind to the potential benefits of cannabis, and whether, there's some listeners out there, whether you're a religious person or not, whether you're higher power or not, God put the plant on the earth for a reason, right? And so, I feel like we utilizing this to the best of our knowledge. Obviously, you've listed so many benefits today, and so many things today that could potentially help a lot of people. So love that we went here. Love that we had this conversation. You mentioned people going and finding your website. So now is your chance. Where can we find you? Where can we get more information out there about this? And if there is anybody that's struggling, that needs to take this next step about finding out, hey, what do I need to do to potentially get this into my life to help me more? Where can we find you?
So thanks, Jason. First off, so you can find me at United, like the United States, but UnitedPatientsGroup.com, UnitedPatientsGroup.com. The site's a free site. We pride ourselves on education information, and I also do a podcast. So I've done a show for years as well, and it's all nice to always to change it up and be on someone else's show. So thank you, and I appreciate you having me on. But also we have medical professionals on there too. If you want to take it to the next step, that you can be on, come on with your loved one, come on with your doctor, and they'll come up with a protocol formulation dosing specifically designed for you, because it's not a one size fits all. Don't be afraid to ask questions, even if you're curious, even if you've been anti cannabis for years, because my wife was, but to see the true benefits when you really take a deeper dive into it, you'll be blown away. People always ask me, John, does it work for this? John, does it work for that? And I say, I don't want to say it's like duct tape with 1,000,001 uses, but when you really get down to it, there's studies showing cannabis and diabetes. The first medical conference I went to back in 2011, I had a doctor from Italy speak about cannabis and diabetes, and I had tears coming down my face. I looked at my wife. I said, God, is this something that I could help my father with? And so I know we're running out of time, but back to at the beginning, you said it's Schedule 1, still classified with heroin and other highly addictive, and that's where they put it, highly addictive with no medical benefits. But at the same time, our U.S. government owns a patent. And again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
I get it. I totally get it.
But they own a patent. Maybe after this COVID, I've turned a little more conspiracy theorist.
Sure. Totally get it.
But they own a patent as a neuroprotectant, which is medical benefits. So it's Schedule 1, no medical benefits, highly classified as addictive and painful and harm with harm. But they put it as a U.S. patent that shows as a neuroprotectant. And so that's the part I don't understand about what's going on. This plant is something that's been around for thousands of years. It used to be in the medical books and pharmacopoeia. Since 1937 is when they banned it. 1937.
It's so unfortunate, but it's making a comeback.
It is making a comeback. And so be safe, less is more. Ask questions, know what you're putting in your body. And I truly believe we all have an endocannabinoid system bringing our body back to health. And what does it crave? In Cliff Note version, it craves cannabinoids. And so research that. You'll be surprised. But Jason, I thank you so much and congratulations. I love what you've done and can't wait to see what else comes out of your show.
Thanks so much, John. I really appreciate you taking the time for our audience today, man. And we'll have to do it again in the future.
Have a blessed weekend, everyone.
Thank you.